Good evening, everybody. A warm welcome to you all. Special greetings to Letterkenny Rugby Football Club, Ireland, Australia Rugby Club, the Davis families, and all the special guests that could not attend. I'm Paula Gaelic, manager of Western Bay Museum. The golden glow of champions in their field is felt here in the Taylor Brothers Transport Limited Gallery. This exhibition has been truly a privilege to honour these champions. Western Bay Museum shares their stories from across the Western Bay region.
Kia ora hui tātou. Hei tīmata kōrero, e tētero ki runga ki tō mātou matu i tarangi. Mai e te tipua, mai e te tawhito, mai e te kahui ki ngā araki. Oi, ko tākina te Māori, ko te Māori noa, ki runga ki anei tauira, ki runga ki anei tauira. Kia tau te Māori ki runga ki anei tangata, e tuku whai oro a tānei te waiora, ki tēnei whare, e tuku whai oro a tānei te waiora. Koe nei te matatau ka eke, whakatū tarewa ki te rangi, uhi uero haramai te toki, haumi e hui e tāki e.
Kia ora everybody, just a short translation. Just on behalf of our kaumātua, we'd like to thank everybody for coming, and his prayers this morning is an old traditional Māori karakia that offers protection not only over those that are present here today, but over the special taonga that are here inside of this building. So on behalf of Te Rere Atu Kahia Marae and the Hatu of Ngā Tamawhāria, we thank you all for being here and appreciate working with Paula and being able to have some engagement in this kaupapa. Rere tēnā koutou katoa.
It's a great privilege to be able to declare this exhibition open. Thank you all very much.
140 years of Katikati rugby. The timeline showcases the development and highs of Katikati rugby. We celebrate superstar Greg Davis, the Katikati senior player that the All Black selectors overlooked and the Australians grabbed. Greg played 105 games for Australia and captained the Wallabies. David Gallagher, the Ulster boy from Katikati. David arrived here at the age of 5 and is famous all round the world to this day for being the captain of the Originals 1905, the first All Blacks captain. We also recognise David as a war hero, and the Gallagher family were part of the only planned Ulster plantation in the world, Katikati. I now introduce Steve Graveson from Katikati Open Air Art, board member of Creative Bay of Plenty, and a man Katikati is so lucky to have. This is the 4th exhibition in Western Bay Museum that Steve has inspired.
Welcome everybody. When I first talked to Paul about 10 months ago about the 140th of the celebrations for the club, I don't think either of us really thought what it would develop into what we have before us today. And the same is for the book. The book was inspired by the mural, which unfortunately at the moment is on hold because the artist is in Australia and can't come back to finish it. But anyway, the book snowballed from 50 pages to 112. Thames Valley Rugby has been played for 150 years. It was first played in 1870 between the Thames side and Auckland. But the two oldest clubs that still survive today in the Thames Valley is Waihau and Katikati, both established in 1880. But the first game played in the Bay, at this end of the Bay, was between a Tauranga County Football Club and an invited Katikati district team on Saturday, June the 28th, 1880 at Hunter's Paddock, which is on the corner of Wharawhara and the main road. Katikati Football Club, as it was called then, was formed that day. And I believe it's probably one of the oldest organisations still in Katikati. So it's very early on, so early on that when the club was formed, Dave Gallagher, who we celebrate, was only 6 years old. The club has seen many changes. There's many things that have influenced the game in Katikati. The kauri logging in the early 1900s, the railway in the 1920s, These industries, plus the others that were already established, the dairy farming and like sport, with strong, young, able-bodied men to the district, and the club benefited from it. The club first played in the Northern Bay, but in 1920 it moved north and went to Waihi, which was the biggest town in the area at that time, and played in the Waihi sub-union competition and later in the Thames Valley. The relationship between Waihi and Kerikeri was very strong. There was many amazing games, showcased talent that the towns had and the district had. It brought many titles, even a couple of Peace Cups. Established names like Claude Hume, Jock Mitchell, Ian Johnson, Bill Nittingham, Sailor Walford, and of course Greg Davis, just to name a very few. In fact, Kerikeri's had 48 players represent the Thames Valley. But probably the biggest change and the most controversial was the move back to the Tauranga sub-union in 1964, the Bay of Plenty Union. This allowed a number of our players to play for the Bay of Plenty provincial team. Names like Graham Moore, who's here tonight, who's still the Bay's top try scorer. The propping pair of John Cribb and Peter Kennedy, Mike Johnson, and who could forget the young Mark Whedon, who in his second game marked Andy Hayden, and while Mark was still at school. In fact, in 1975, Kerikeri had captains of all the Bay rep teams at various stages of the season. But the club had to wait a few years to see their next highlight, which was in 1986, when the senior team won the Te Puke Tauranga Club Championships for the first and only time. But the club's not just the players, it's also the officials, the likes of Mac Moore, Don Young, Vic Wilson and numerous others who've helped keep the club operating. It's also the supporters, the sponsors and the community, which was very evident on Saturday at Moore Park when the seniors won the reserve grade title. They're what made the club it is today. There's been generations of families like the Murrays and the Digglemans and the Humes and the Blue Gums. There is so much more celebrated in this book. There's the highs and the lows, the individuals and the teams. There's also the 5 playing fields where the community have gathered to cheer the boys on for now 7,280 Saturdays. May this weekly event continue for many more seasons to come. Thank you.
Representing Waihi Beach Surf Lifesaving Club, the man that has saved many lives, First New Zealand Service Award, Bay of Plenty Life Member, Waihi Surf Lifesaving Life Member, qualified inshore rescue boat driver and instructor, New Zealand Coast Guard, N. Robinson, QSN.
Well, they asked me to do a speech about the surf club, and I've been there for many, many years. In 1933, the first rescue was carried out at Waihi Beach by a group of miners, and they helped one of their mates ashore, and who had caught it in the rip, and they had to rescue him. Then the gear was a log canoe. That's what they had to save people with. At the time, only a few miners had batches, and there was a few shops there, and the stores slowly helped and put together a rescue group. The first was to raise money for the local visitors, and a sports day was organised for children, and this same sports day on New Year's Day is on 103 years old now. The club was named Waihi Surf Club, but later on it was changed by the council to be Waihi Beach Surf Club, Surf Lifesaving Club. World War II broke out, and first fit young men were all scripted to go to the forces, so the patrol was carried out by women. A group of young women got together, very good swimmers, they were well trained, and they knew their first aid. A reel like the one you see over there was a safety gear, and a 400 yards of line and a belt on the end of it for swimmers. Signals to shore were practiced, and they were very, very clever. A lot of very experienced members were in the club. 3 patrols at Waihi Beach now, all in all a very successful club with great help from many, many associate members. Thank you.
Denny Holm. The timeline is indicative of the so many times Denny stood on the world podium. Denny's record is incredible. Denny's awards and honours are outstanding. I take this opportunity to acknowledge Denny and Greta's daughter, Adele Holm. She is here. Denny and Greta's granddaughters, Trixie and Hazel Holm, along with your father, Dr. Michael Tustin. And now hand over to the delightful Greta Holm.
So Dennis was born in Nelson on 18th of June 1936, and there was a job with a truck business in Pongakawa. So they packed up everything in their Mori 8 and came across up to Pongakawa to start this trucking business. And Dennis was not quite 8 at that time. Him and Anita went to Pongakawa School, as did me and my 3 sisters. Okay, and I didn't take any notice of him. He was a class behind me. And, well, this was Dennis's first car. So Dennis hitchhiked to Auckland. I presume he had shoes on, but anyway. Okay, and he had a choice of 5 cars that had come in on the ship, and this one, he chose this one because it had the Rossdale wheels on it, okay, and the wire wheels he decided weren't strong enough. This one was £20 cheaper than the wire wheels anyway, so he chose this one and drove it home. I was not in the picture then. So with him and Anita, they joined the Tauranga Car Club, and they went in motorcanas and gymkhanas and hill climbs and all sorts of things with this car. So this was the beginning of his motor racing. Okay, and so in 1958, this car was traded in for an MGA, and in 1972-73, Joanne Hislop was in Havelock North, and this chap, Kit Mills, said to her, listen, if you're ever writing to Dennis, tell him I've got his original TF, and if he wants to buy it, I'll sell it to him, otherwise I'll keep it. So anyway, we came out at Christmas and we went down there to get it, and went down this right of way, and here was a white car with black vinyl roof on it. Okay, and I think Dennis lost some more hair in the shop. So we took it back and left it at his mum and dad's at Pongakawa. It was probably 83. He starts and he widened the rims and he put bigger tyres on it because everything was undershot as far as he was concerned. He needed more rubber on the road. Okay, and he did engine, gearbox, and he took all the rotten woodwork out, put all the new woodwork and then put the doors on and everything, and nothing lined up, did it? It was taken very lovingly down to Rod Brayshaw in Palmerston North to fix it because he had a jig to put it on and line it all up. So it was a few years doing that. We finally got it back, and Dennis did all the fiddly bits, like the dash and the little blue lights and all the fiddly bits he did. When he died at Bathurst in 1992, he had arranged with Gay that Adele and I would take this car down to Plymouth for an MG, pre-56 MG rally. Well, I popped the bottom hinge on the side of the garage door, getting it out of the garage. I flooded it and burnt a hole in the lawn. Suddenly it's all pouring with rain, and by the time I get to Grev, I am stressed to the max. And he said, what's wrong? I said, well, he knows what I've done to his car. And he said, listen, Greta, just use it and enjoy it, because he's not going to come back and growl at you. So that's what we did.